Hello and good evening, everyone. This is Zeeshan for Commissioner Precinct 3 in Fort Bend County. That's the position I'm running for since April 12, 2021. And some of you who may not know, that's when in 2021 the Commissioners Court decided for the change in precinct maps. And I also decided at that time the right thing. And that right thing was to make sure that I'm getting some feedback here. So I just want to make sure that we take care of uh, this feedback that I'm getting. I hope it goes away now, but let's see. Give me one moment so we can make sure that this technical issue is resolved. Seems like I'm still listening to the echo. Which is weird. So let me just make sure that I have to close some of these windows so that way we know that there is no. Okay, so sorry about that. And that's basically what happens. And in real life, we will face some issues as the community because the community is also growing fast. And if you look at the past 15 to 20 years, how Fort Bend County has literally changed for better in terms of the growth, in terms of the influx of immigrants, and even people from different states who move to our beautiful Fort Bend County. So as more people come together and as the community grows, and then all communities they grow at the same time, people issues also grow together, and there's a direct link to issues as well as growth, because if we don't plan this properly, then how are we going to face the issues that our folks, our people are facing together? So as commissioners, as a commissioner, that's one of the fundamental duty of a commissioner, to be the chief executive, as a chief executive officer, or as also the operating officer, I would say chief operating officer. And even because of technology and how infrastructure, and even infrastructure both from roads, bridges, parks perspective, but also from technology infrastructure perspective, we want to make sure that as a commissioner, I will bring in those fundamental changes that are required for the betterment of our communities. So today's main idea to get together with all of you was to make sure that, first of all, we continue to keep these channels of communication open, because when I get elected, and I'll be humbled to get your vote as your next commissioner, then I will have short-term planning meetings as well as long-term planning meetings, and all of those need to be shared with our constituents, because when I will have the monthly meetings and quarterly meetings, then those short-term plans and long-term plans, that's also one of the very key responsibility and duty of a commissioner, to make sure that our people, our constituents, our voters are in sync with what are the short-term plans of Precinct 3 and Fort Bend County, and what are the long-term plans. So let's start with the key priorities, because as I was mentioning earlier, back on April 12, 2021, when I started this beautiful journey, and I've been meeting with hundreds and thousands of people, so I have been capturing and taking notes and ensuring what is in people's minds, what's going on in terms of the pulse of the various communities that live together side by side in Fort Bend County. And when I talk about communities, I'm talking about all communities, everyone who lives in Fort Bend County, starting from Asian, Caucasian, white Caucasians, African Americans, Latino, Hispanics, South Asians, African Americans, the gay community as well, because that's also a fact in terms of all these different communities that live together side by side. So when I become your commissioner, I'll be everyone's commissioner. So that is incumbent upon the commissioner to make sure that everyone basically moves together, and Fort Bend forward together, not just for the few people or the affluent people or the key interest lobbyists or those who have a lot at stake. That's why sometimes it's mind-boggling that why some of the key issues that are facing our communities are not being discussed. So starting first and foremost with property taxes. Everyone is talking about property taxes. And let me give you a little bit background. Because we live in a red state, our governor is a Republican, and he promised the first time he ran for office that he's going to lower our property taxes. Nothing happened. And this is the key fundamental difference between myself as a candidate and XYZ, whoever, that when I make a promise, I make sure that I keep my promises. And those who know me for decades, they know that Zeeshan keeps his promises. So how I will do that? Because we're not going to look at how the state legislature and the state house and then the state senate, and then the bill will land on the governor's deck and he can veto it if he likes it or doesn't like it. No, we have the authority. We can do some of the things even at the local level, and it will be tough, but I have a plan for it. The short answer is that I'll be raising our sales tax revenue base by bringing in big businesses. And that's where my American Express experience comes into the picture, because I was a director at American Express, managed $250 million budget. And I was a director for this big department called business and vendor management. So I know the business side of things, and I also know from the technology, IT side of things, because I am a very, what you call professional person who has experience from the business side of IT. So when I look at some of the infrastructure for our Fort Bend County in terms of technology, it's a shame. And because obviously both parties are responsible for it. Now Democrats have just come together for a couple of years. Some of these projects that I have worked for decades, it requires 1-2 years to make sure that we have a plan in place. And some of the projects can be executed much faster. So that's what I also intend to do in terms of building our technology infrastructure as well. So property taxes, number one. And like I said, I'll be increasing our big businesses, bringing in big businesses, increasing the volume of those big businesses by negotiating with them and ensuring that we do not sacrifice any kind of crucial or critical services that Fort Bend County provides. And it's not going to, it's not an alarming sign for anyone, even the Republicans, because, sometimes they believe that, some of these programs, obviously, they have also completely forgotten about the person on the main street, and obviously this is the problem when special interest groups, when they get into the politics and they started getting involved, then good businesses who have been providing good services, they have nothing to worry about. And those who are cheating, obviously the Fort Bend County, that's where we will make sure, and I will make sure, working with the DA's office to ensure, and even with the county attorney office, to make sure that these contracts are based on the service level agreements and the type of services that the vendors and providers, what they have signed up for, are they providing those services or not? So no crucial services that the Fort Bend County provides will be impacted, because I will offset that sales tax revenue by bringing in sales tax revenue, and offset the property tax through increasing the sales tax revenue base by bringing in big businesses. So that's the short answer. It will be tough, but can be done. That's the number one issue that's on people's mind. I've met some people, and there are a few people that I've met, and they had to sell their house, their beautiful home where they have lived for decades, and they had to sell it because it's not one or two, 3 or 4 people that I've met. They have told me the same exact thing. How is it possible that we live in one of the most affluent counties in the nation, most diverse counties in the nation, and people have to sell their homes just because they cannot pay their property tax? It's a shame. So that is where, Zeeshan Isaac, with your vote and with your support, I will be humbled to get your vote, and I will lower our property taxes. What's number 2 issue? Flooding. We all saw what happened in the previous floods during Hurricane Harvey, and we didn't have a plan. And even now, the Brazos River and even the turnaround on Highway 59, if you're going on 59 South, you will see that the turnaround is still blocked because they are improving, and it's going on for years now. Now, lit and mud, those are other different boards. I will make sure that we have qualified and right people in those boards. And obviously, the board is also selected, and I would say elected by people, but only get elected by 50 votes, 100 votes, 200 votes, and these are very important, crucial positions. So I will make sure that I work in tandem and in collaboration with the lit, the levee improvement district, and mud, the municipal utility districts. So we have a flood plan in place. That's where proactive emergency management comes into the picture. So we are not always reactive, because then we have to work with FEMA, and then we all know what happens when we work with the federal government, because they have a red tape, and sometimes the red tape is there for a reason, but we all know that the process takes sometimes years and the disaster has already happened. So we got to have the proactive emergency management plan in place, where we are not reactive but proactive. Then the other issues in terms of our education, and that's where the school board comes into the picture. A lot of parents are worried about what content is being taught. We have about 82 or so schools, so 80 plus schools in Fort Bend County, almost 76,000 plus, almost 80,000 students in our Fort Bend County. So their future is at stake. So I will work with the board and even work with them to make sure that we are also working with the Texas Education Agency, and also with the Texas Education Commissioner, who actually is appointed by governor. And we all know we have had some disappointments, especially as Fort Bend residents, because we are well informed, and especially we pay attention in terms of what's going on. So I will work with the state legislatures as well to make sure that we have the right type of bills that are being presented at the state legislature, and the commissioner's office work very closely with the Texas Education Commission, as well as applying pressure, what have you, because it's politics, but at the same time working with the school board, because the onus, the responsibility is on the school board when it comes to education. Mental health, that's another one, because we have this issue right now in our communities, where there's a lot of substance abuse, physical abuse, and all these different types of abuses. So do we have the right type of funds and resources available? So I will make sure that our commissioner's office provide those resources. And that's where my budget management experience comes into the picture. So let me tell you folks, this is not a rookie kind of a job. This is a job where we are taking all communities together and working with everyone, collaborating. And that's where my corporate experience, my private experience, and even my experience working as a volunteer for decades with many nonprofit organizations within Houston, because people know me for decades. And I'm blessed that people know me for decades because of my radio experience and TV host experience. And that is very kind of them. They still consider me as one of those people who has never shied away by talking about key issues and taking action and working together with nonprofit and private and public sector to make sure that we help those who are in need. Traffic congestion, that's another one. So not only just potholes or bumps on the road, sometimes they fill these potholes, but now there's a bump. I mean, what is going on? I mean, who are fixing these roads in Precinct 3 and even, elsewhere in Fort Bend County? Unacceptable. We have more than $500 million of budget allocated for the year 23 to 2024. That is where, as commissioner, the first and foremost duty of a commissioner is to manage a budget. That's where I come into the picture, because my experience with American Express will come in handy. I was managing $250 million of budget. And when we manage our budget properly, and I will keep you up to date in terms of every line allocations and how we're spending our money, I have no doubt in my mind that those types of issues in terms of roads, bridges, parks, they will be best in terms of how we will take pride in them, because I will make sure that our precinct and our county becomes an exemplary precinct and model precinct and county in the nation. So that's another key issue in terms of this traffic congestions, and then at the same time ensuring that we have these proper equipment available even for winter. Sometimes we have this little bit of snow and the entire county in fact is logged. In fact, even in other parts of counties adjacent to us, they may not have that kind of funding, but at least we should have some type of equipment that can clear our main roads and highways, and people can even go out safely. So safety is another key aspect of this. When you manage your budget properly, can be done. The other important priority obviously is to make sure our law enforcement, they have the tools and resources available for them. And at this point, one example I can give you where I applaud the incumbent and other incumbents as well, where they together made this purchase by purchasing these body cams. And those body cams, I applaud that they purchased it, but they use CAD funds. And if you know what CAD is, that's Central Appraisal District. Now, if you're going to deplete CAD funds to even using those funds for some other even important issue or a resource that you need, for example, body cams, I mean, it's not the right thing to do. I mean, I applaud and I appreciate that those body cams were purchased, but even today, there are many deputies and law enforcement officers that do not have body cams in Fort Bend County. Can you believe it? Yes, one of the most affluent counties in the nation, and we don't have body cams. So obviously, I'm not going to go and blame the other side of the aisle, because that's where the issue has been for decades, and now I'm very happy and proud to say that when Democrats have come in, a lot of course correction has happened. So I will make sure that all these key party issues, the Democratic Party issues, they are taken forward together as one, and at the same time ensuring that we also hold accountable our providers and those who provide key services accountable. And I will hold myself accountable as well. That's why accountability, infrastructure, and emergency management, those are my other key priorities. So after listening to constituents for almost more than 2 years now, coming up at 3, I'm the only one in this race, even more than the incumbent. Yes, even more than the incumbent, who has been listening to voters, who has been listening to our constituents, and that's what's on people's minds. Now, election year is coming up. Obviously, we'll see some work that will get started. It's very unfortunate, but that's how it is. So let's not be confused, and let's not have any kind of doubt in our minds that we will not be able to accomplish all these things. Yes, we can. Remember that phrase? One of my mentors, or I would say somebody who I am very fond of, is President Obama, because how he brought everyone together, that's a key testament to his leadership style, that even when adversity and very complex issues that we are faced with, we should still be making an effort to move forward together. Now, this is where decades of experience and trust comes into the picture. Just like American Express, they entrusted me with managing $250 million of budget. That's where I'm asking for your trust. So I'll be humble to get your vote. And speaking of lowering our property taxes, that's a key one. It's an issue that is very close to everyone's hearts. You could be on any side of the aisle. Obviously, very few Democrats, they in fact advocate and talk about lowering our property taxes, because it's not easy, because we want to make sure that we're not selling out our own communities and our own people. I'm not going to do that. And that is where managing the budget properly, increasing the sales tax revenue base by bringing in more big businesses. And we have a lot of land in Fort Bend County. So I will bring those key points in the commissioner's court. And no one is talking about these issues because these are complex issues. No one wants to do it because it will require hard work and some skill sets and negotiation skills, and then working and collaborating and thinking in terms of from a business standpoint, thinking in terms of what a business owner, entrepreneurs, and these big Fortune 100 companies and Fortune 500 companies, how they think, how those executives think. I've been there, done that. So I will put myself into those shoes, but also have a heart. That's where the heart and mind comes together in terms of leading and in terms of giving back to the community, and by also ensuring that public service. That's where we gotta have that compassion, and that compassion by using the skill sets and using the brain and thinking and putting ourselves into the shoes. Only that person can do it who has been in the private sector, especially in the Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies. Because when you run your own business, you can have whatever policies you can have, but when you work and employed by one of the leading Fortune 100 companies like American Express, we have had blue box values, and I take humble pride in terms of how everyone everyone from all different demographics, they work in such companies. And that's where, how to tackle tough issues and how to also bring everyone together, and ensuring that the trust of people is with you. So I really appreciate some of the comments that people are also sharing with me. I've shared the link if someone would like to join directly and ask me any questions. Some person here is mentioning this. Let me just share it with you. Good luck, brother. Well, thank you, Amaro. I really appreciate it. So this is where everyone has to play his or her, and everyone needs to play their role. And how you can play your role, this is where I'm asking for your help. Share this message with everyone. I cannot go and meet. It's virtually impossible. Although my goal is to meet as many people as possible in person and through these type of platforms and channels. But it's incumbent upon you, whoever is the viewer, whoever has joined, and you may be watching me when this video is going to be shared with you, or you may not be watching me live, because a lot of people then watch me later. So when you come across our message, because it's a people's campaign, it's all communities campaign, share this message with your neighbors, share this message with your folks on the streets, because I will make it happen and I will get it done. So I think without any further ado, I would like to thank you again. Thank you again for all your contributions. So let me say this very, very, I would say in a very humble manner. And I have no words to even express my gratitude. People are donating and contributing to our campaign. And how are they contributing to our campaign? $5. $15, $20, $25 in this challenging economy as well, $100. And I really appreciate it, because I'm not even reaching out to those big donors that I know. Even to those big donors, I ask them, hey, can you please contribute $100? Because I don't want to hold myself tied up with these big donors where then quid pro quo, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. That is not the reason I got into politics. And I will continue to stay in politics until that day when I know I am being honest with you. I will always level with you. And this is the message of that honesty and integrity and doing the right thing. And I've done that already, thanks to God, already in this campaign, where I had a choice back in 2021. Where I could have been your commissioner, Precinct 4. And that choice was very simple. For me, it was not difficult. Either I lie like most of the other politicians, or do the right thing. And I'm very happy for obviously our Precinct 4 commissioner, because we all supported him and I supported him. And he announced his candidacy after I publicly announced that I will now run for Commissioner Precinct 3. Because if you look at the map of Commissioner's Precinct 3 office, the Precinct 3, it's 90%, I would say, old precinct 4, because the new precinct 4 is like a completely new country, if I may, use that word, completely new carve out map. And that happened because obviously politics, and obviously that incumbent, I mean, that commissioner is no longer here. So this is politics, but politics with the right reason, politics as a civic duty, politics as a sacred duty, giving back to the communities. And that is where I make this pledge, and I make this, I would say, promise to you. And this is my campaign promise to you, that I will always level with you, and all these key issues, I will get it done. So just to recap, I've shared a lot of issues, but there are top 3 or 4 issues that basically is very clear with people. And because I've been listening to them since April 12, 2021, I will lower our property taxes, accountability, infrastructure, and emergency management. So that's probably 3 or maybe 4. If it depends on how you look at infrastructure and emergency management, because I consider both of them as fundamental to proactive emergency management as well. So Commissioner Precinct 3 is a chief executive officer, also acting as chief operating officer and as chief information officer, all combined in one, to make sure that we are providing the values to the voters and getting the most bang for the buck. Because at the end of the day, just like I'm on this journey of my longest interview of my career, you are the ones who are going to elect me, and you will appoint me, the voters. It's not a political appointment, it's an election. So I want to get your vote. I will be humbled to get your vote. I'm asking for your vote, and please continue to spread this word and message. And again, thank you so much for your contributions. I'm going to share this on the screen. Please share this message. If you go and visit zeeshanisaac.com, you will click on the link on top where you can contribute. And if you have not registered to vote, there's information there. Please register to vote. The primary will be next year in February. That's where the early voting would be. And March 5th, that's right, March 5th. Mark that calendar. Mark that date, please. March 5th would be the election day. Again, thank you so much, and I'll be humbled to get your vote. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the evening. Thank you.